Hello, welcome to my presentation PD, little blurby thing about feedback. I had offered to do this and a couple people expressed an interest, so here you go. This is a very low budget version of a presentation. I was going to use Screencastify, which is what several people would recommend. 5-minute limit. I'm too cheap to buy the license. So this is through PowerPoint Screen Record. I believe it's going to work well. If it doesn't, we'll try something else. Before I get started, there's a couple things I wanted to do and let you know what we're going to do today. And the first is I wanted to go over what feedback is to me. There's a lot of different kinds. There's feedback and coaching, and if you're an instructional coach, that's a little different. So these are the principles, the ideas that I follow when I'm giving feedback to districts, which is what I'm going to be talking about. So some of this is review, some of it might be something you'll want to share with the district. Then I'm going to show you the different ways that I provide feedback and the kind of structure I used. So this is from an old presentation from a Summer Learning Academy. And John Hattie describes feedback to students as, how did your student do and how could they do better? Same thing works for adults. So how did your colleagues do? How did the group you're working with do? And how could they do better? Some 4 basics that I try and keep in mind. You want to affirm what they did well. I really try to have more positives than not positives, than coaching ideas or negatives, whatever. Correcting and directing. There are some times when linking an article or a piece of information or letting them know that they have misunderstood something is very applicable to feedback. Pointing out the process. I have been with some of the districts I work with long enough that I can say, based on 2 years ago, this is where I see you and the progress you have made. And coaching to critique their efforts. So with this in mind, deciding how to give feedback becomes a little more complex. Some people prefer verbal feedback. I like verbal feedback, but if there is no written record of it, I'm not sure how you confirm that you gave the feedback. Most of us go to a lot of meetings. How do you remember what feedback you gave? And if the person you're giving to isn't taking notes, something else is going to happen and it's going to be right out of their head. That's what happens to me. So these are some forms that we have used in the past. Glows, grows, and wonderings, reinforcements, refinements, and comments, questions. This is one a district uses here at the bottom. So reinforcements, refinements, questions for the team, and the name of the person providing the feedback. That's nice if maybe it's a TBT and you've got different people or you're filling in for someone. While the top one pretty much has one for each, or maybe you'd put a lot of things in the box. I'm going to show you how this one works in a bit. This one is designed for one big reinforcement, one big refinement, and a question. This works well for TBTs. They meet for a short time. You really don't want to overwhelm them. When you're affirming what you have done well, an area of reinforcement, which is the language I use, glows and grows is also a very popular one. I just think reinforcement ties into OTAS better, and to me it sounds more professional for the groups I'm working with. I think it's more applicable for them. So biggies to hit on, especially if it's a team young in the process. The OIP process. Is there agenda? Are there roles? Are they adhering to the time? Are they using data? That's not the only reason a team can meet, but are they using data and the depth of their conversations? Are they superficial? Who is doing the talking? So everyone in the meeting seemed to share. You had a protocol that allowed everyone to get their ideas out. And then enhancement and commitments. What are they agreeing to do moving forward? Some examples of that and the language we're using. So instead of saying great agenda, I like to tell folks why it was good. Having the agenda help the team know the structure of the meeting. You did a good job getting the meeting started. Good is a very, very subjective word. What does good mean? So I try to pick something specific. The opening activity helps settle the team down and focus on the work. The team was on fire. I have no idea what that means. So the team had a lot of ideas to share. You can read these. Remembered the to-do list this week. That's a little dig that they forgot it last week. Whereas you can reinforce that with having a structured brief to-do list will help team members remember meeting commitments and tasks before next week. I really like your meetings. Me liking their meetings is not the point of them meeting. I'm really trying with a few of the districts, especially, that this is not about making me happy or doing what some OIP structure says, as much as having meaningful conversations that move the work in the district forward. Areas of refinement on the same types of things, the process, data use, conversations. Sometimes I will make sure I tie a reinforcement to a refinement, and I'll show you some of those later. Questions to get back on track. Would it be helpful to the team if the agenda was sent out ahead of time so they could better prepare? That's a question. And some principals will say, good idea. And some principals will say, they're not going to read it anyway. I'm not going to waste the time. I totally get both of those. Supplying resources. Sometimes in refinements, I will share an idea. Have you considered using a protocol to help build the conversations in small groups? Here are a couple that might be useful. When I share resources, I really try to pinpoint it down to two or three. I try not to just give one, to two or three that are applicable. I don't send them the entire list of 97 protocols we got from OLI4. They can Google that. Part of our job, in my mind, is to narrow it down and say, these are a couple that would work for you. I believe, why don't you pick one of these? And there's some examples. You should have an agenda. Do you think having an agenda would help the team keep moving? It's a little gentler. It's asking a question. They have the option to say no, even though we all know what I'm saying is you need an agenda. The team wasted time, which they did, but that's a little harsh and people get defensive. The team had a lot to share today. An opening activity might allow them the opportunity to share, yet still be respectful of people's time. It was frustrating. Team members did not come prepared. Once again, my frustration, not their problem. I'm frustrated a lot in meetings. So creating a task list for items to complete between meetings would give team members something to refer back to. And you need to set some norms so the meeting doesn't devolve into a chaotic mess. I'll write some for you. Number one, I have so wanted to say that in meetings. Number two, I am not going to write them for them. I hold myself back and feel myself doing it because creating a structure of the meeting is not my job. Coaching them to what the structure should be, helping them to create a structure where they can create norms, fabulous. Giving them norms is pointless. Telling them they need some structures or it doesn't devolve into a chaotic mess. Number one, the person you're sharing feedback with probably knows it devolved into a chaotic mess. You don't need to point it out. If it got that bad, what they need is, here are some ideas. Here's an OLAC resource. Here's a snippet of a video. So that's how I view it. And then pointing out where they are in the process. So the details of the process, questions to redirect the team to dig deeper. A large problem I have with some districts is we never get deep enough. So endlessly discussing student data and not adult impact. Try saying using formative brief data sets might allow teachers to see the tie-in to their practice more readily. Compliance, getting the form done. Do we have all the boxes right? The Ohio improvement process is designed at its base as a school improvement, a teacher collaboration guide to facilitate school improvement. That's what it was designed to be. That's not what it is, because we put a form with it, and you give a teacher a form, and it's like giving a mouse a cookie. They're going to want to make sure it's done right. And it's okay to go slow, and it's okay to screw up, and it's okay to start over. So there's some others. Everyone's implementing differently. Would it be helpful for them to decide how to handle things? Surface conversations. This is where I will sometimes, what could I do to help the team move to deeper conversations around whatever? There have been a couple instances where I led the really ugly conversation for a couple of reasons. I was kind of the outside expert. I'm doing air quotes for that. And I can ask the questions that are a little mean and dig a little deep because I honestly don't know the answers, and I'm going to go away. The internal facilitators are the people, and the administrators are the people who are going to help the teachers work through their discomfort with those questions. So I can ask the questions that make people uncomfortable and a little angry and question practice, because I get to leave, and by the time they see me again, they'll be over it. Nobody's going to be that mad about it. But the administrators and those boots on the ground people embedded in the district are then the ones that help them through it. So this builds everyone's capacity. My overall goal is to work myself out of a job. Coaching is also a way to help the team give themselves feedback and kind of self-reflect. That's hard. And I have districts that I work with who are in it to varying degrees. Something to keep in mind about a coach, which is different from an instructional coach or an administrator. Coach is somebody who is a trusted colleague. I am not always a trusted colleague. Some of these teachers see me 8 times a year, once a month. A reflective partner, a critical friend, not an evaluator. If administrators are doing the coaching, they need to be able to say, I'm putting on my coaching hat. This is not my evaluator hat. We ask questions, we don't give answers. Yes, sometimes you just need to know where the masking tape is. But a lot of times, they have an answer in their head. You just kind of have to pull it out of them. You're a listener, not a storyteller. I had plenty of years as a principal, and I have some great ideas of how they could fix it that I think are better than their ideas. But those are my ideas, not their ideas. And if they implement my idea, they have no ownership. We are a prompter of new practices. We are not a judgmental critic. We all did things in our career somewhere along the line that, looking back, probably were not the best idea in the world. We figured that out. We facilitate opportunities. We don't go tattle to people. And I have also shared with you in the links, I didn't actually know this slide was still there, a Simon Sinek video on feedback. I also shared a Katie Novak video on feedback in this presentation. Oh, there's Simon again. The other thing I wanted to share with you, oh, there's a lovely article that's in there someplace also. Okay, let's get where I want to be. So I wanted to show you how I do feedback. And we are in the RSSOS share drive. And I'm going to go down to District Information Folder 15. I keep all of my feedback work in the folders for my district. And I'm going to start and show you Greenfield, then I'll show you the others. I've been in Greenfield the longest is the reason this is the best established. I have done feedback handwritten. I have done feedback typing it and then retyping it. I have done messy notes and then I send it in an email. This is the first year. The format I'm going to show you is what I am using in all of the districts I work with right now. I have offered other things, and sometimes I will send an email instead. It kind of depends, but here we go. So here is a DLT. This is Greenfield DLT. As you can see, I've got a folder in there for each building. So Buckskin, Greenfield Elementary, the DLT, the middle school, the high school, and Rainsboro. I also put in a folder for exit tickets and bell ringers because that's something they asked me to look up for them once that we were discussing. And I said, I can look some of those up for you. And part of the reason I do that is it makes sense. I have way more time to look stuff up than a principal does. So I have a chart template in each of these folders. And that template, this one doesn't have it. That template is set up for reinforcements, refinements, and questions or comments. And it is a running template. I put the agenda link up here, and Greenfield has the same agenda with different tabs on it for every meeting. So once I link the agenda, every time I make a copy of this for a new meeting, so file, make a copy, and this will be December DLT feedback chart. So, and then it will end up right in the folder with the others, and it's ready to go. It says send the chart to Elisa. That's my reminder that I need to do that. Let me show you one of the buildings so I can show you how I collaborate with the teams. I was just at Buckskin. Let's do Buckskin. So here's my Buckskin chart for December, and this already had the agenda linked, and their agenda is a Google Sheet with tabs on the bottom for each month. They designed this. They asked me for something years ago, and I gave them something, and they promptly pretty much decided they didn't like that, but they kind of used that to help them do this, which I love because it's their work and they're supporting it. Other things I have linked here are their visible learning plan. So whenever I make a copy of the template, those things are automatically there. And my note to send the chart to Elisa and Quincy, curriculum director and superintendent. They collaborate with me on this feedback. So in the meeting, this chart is live for all of us. And if I can go to version history, you can see how we have all put things in here. So you've got some from Elisa and some from Quincy. Most are from me because my job is to provide feedback. But in this instance, I'm providing feedback to Quincy and Elisa because they're going to provide the feedback to the building. So some things there that this one, as you can see, is kind of informal. And that's okay because of the three people doing this, and Elisa and I have been doing shared documents for probably 3 years. Quincy joined us a couple years ago. So this one, thank you for clarifying, Quincy. Positive spin on the topic, because I need to give Quincy and Elisa feedback too. And then I said, I've seldom seen the team this quiet. Elisa responded, they do seem to have an improved mindset. Maybe they're just tired. Quincy said she had to say something because she was afraid it was going to go south. So this is a way for us to share things and have conversations without disrupting the meeting. Many times I will say, I was going to mention this, I'm glad I didn't, or I'm about ready to say, and Elisa will usually say, do it if she wants me to. It's a nice way, because we all share the chart, to keep from stepping in something that I shouldn't. Asking a question that could lead the entire team down a road that administration doesn't want them to go is not helpful. This allows us not to do that. It works well for us, and then I'll show you the feedback that they end up with on the agenda link, and this is theirs. There is this is what they get. They get one big reinforcement, big refinement, and questions, and this time Elisa provided it. This is the same structure for everything. So there's their agenda template, and then here is their 5-step process. It's all embedded. This is a few years worth of work for them. They did not start out with it looking like this. So let's leave Greenfield, and I will show you a couple of others. I got myself clear out of it. I do that all the time. All the time. It's kind of weird to sit here and talk, and I keep looking at the camera even though I know you can't see it. Blanchester. Let's find one of my Blanchesters. Blanchester Intermediate. Blanchester Intermediate is one where I also do coaching. So let's see. Here is the September feedback. I am the only person working on the feedback in this meeting because I am the only SST consultant that attends. And the IF does not. So the only district where I really have the IF providing feedback, I didn't do any of it, where the IF is providing the team feedback to everything but the DLT is Greenfield. Ripley is moving in that direction. Fayetteville and Blanchester are not there yet. Blanchester doesn't even have a DLT. So on this one, you can see a lot of this one is just notes. It's notes I took and then some suggestions. This Jen Molitor has comment rights. She doesn't have edit rights to this, but she can comment. So she has fixed some of my wording because they use so many programs I can't tell what anything's called. And she's answered some of my questions. So that's another format. Occasionally, I will look at this chart and think there is too much on there. And at that point, I will write them an email with just a few things. But the feedback charts have helped me keep focused. I can also go back and look at previous ones very easily. And like I said, everything is housed in this district information folder for the buildings I work with. Everyone, I am with a Brown County person in Fayetteville, and they are not putting their things in this folder, so they have things housed somewhere else, and they're going to move them over, I assume, when probably closer to the end of the year. Also got some links to previous year's work. Oh, what did it used to look like? Sorry, now I'm just cruising through. This is a copy of a chart. I thought it was an email. Okay, never mind. I was going to show you one of the emails I had shared. Let's look at, I know Wilmington does things a little differently, the group that works with Wilmington. So I have color-coded my folders because otherwise I can't find them. Sad but true. Wilmington has this year and previous years there. So, and they've got district work and building work. So there's a structured, fairly similar, not exactly. They have DLT agendas in there separately. So they put in their agendas, and then it appears that they then put the notes in. They must make a copy of the agenda and put in notes, I'm guessing. Let's see. Yep, so Megan did notes on this one. She had the agenda, looks like she made a copy of it, and then she added her notes here, which will then be tied to their feedback, I would assume. Let's see if we can find their October feedback. As you can tell, I didn't look through this beforehand. I'm just cruising through this with you guys. So these are the feedback narratives they had sent, and we were looking at November. So here is November's, and there we go. So they do celebrations, areas to consider, next steps, and resources is how they have structured theirs. I believe that this is something else that has grown over time. And as you can see, there is no SST right way to do this. I like looking at how others have done it because it gives me ideas also of how things can be done. When I first share the chart, so that's their format: celebrations, areas to consider, and next steps. When I first share the chart with districts or buildings, I always ask them if this is too much, and we have a conversation. Is this too much? Would you prefer an email? Some people I work with really want the accolades, like they need that. They're not going to say, I really need to know what I'm doing well. Whereas, but from working with them, I can tell they need that to balance out this is what needs to be worked on. I have at least one principal who said, I don't need that. Tell me what I need to fix. And that principal's feedback seems a little harsher and more direct because that's what they requested from me. So that's what they get. Let's go back into one of mine. Let's see where we can go. Shared, I always have to, like I said, go clear back. I'm sure I'm driving some of you crazy with doing this. Down to 15. Oh, let's go to Ripley. So in Ripley, I work with a Brown County person and we collaborate on the feedback, and we have also looped in the internal facilitator. So there are potentially 3 of us in there. The IF is getting on board with that. And the feedback, again, is a lot of notes and a little more directive. So it may be helpful to reinforce that PBIS is a great deal about changing adult behavior and how adults react to student behavior. That's really not a negotiable. That's what it is. So have you considered reminding them that, no, this is a principle that likes it direct, and PBIS is not about changing children. It's about changing how adults react to children, thus influencing children, as you know. Oh, look, there's a typo. So they've said Jay's rules. This one is really directive. In PBIS, we have behavior expectations. We don't have rules, so be careful of those things. As you can see, this one is a little more directive. And down here, I even tried to give advice because they have AAA and PBIS, and they are melding into each other and creating something that frustrates me no end because they're changing PBIS and it's not up for debate. So that is a little how I do that feedback. In the past, I've stored it in other places and moved it over, but I really feel that keeping it all housed in here, when I win the lottery or the UPS man who's also a millionaire decides that I am just the girl of his dreams and we run away together in his big brown van, this is accessible to everybody. Everyone has access to it. It's already here. There is nothing hidden. Anything that I have shared with the district is going to be in this folder. And some high school gradual release direct links that I put together. I really try and keep it all in one place. There's a rubric, the OTES 2.0 rubric. We were discussing that. I threw that in this for Ripley. I really try and keep everything all in one place. Yes, your sound isn't broken. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really wanted to let you know about feedback. I would encourage you to share your feedback with others and to collaborate with folks. I do think that it can be really beneficial. I miss having someone to share feedback with and converse with in some of the districts I'm currently in because there isn't another SST person there, and sometimes the IF isn't as actively involved as in others. So if you have any questions, please ask. I am open for discussion. I would love you to give me a critique on my feedback. I'm happy to read through other people's. If this is not what you wanted at all and you need something else out of your feedback, let me know that too, because I can be a little dense at times. I know It's more than just at times. Thank you for everyone who was thinking that. Mr. Grammarly needs to be quiet. So this was, there we go, we're back to the beginning. Like I said, this was a pretty quick, down and dirty, this is what feedback is, unscripted, one take. Let me know your thoughts, and I hope you found this helpful. The videos that I mentioned are on the next slide in this slide deck, and the article that briefly flashed on the screen should be linked in the notes. Thank you.